Okay, so now I've placed my images in InDesign, I need to start editing them and changing them and making sure that my images fit within the picture boxes that I have created for them. All right, so I'm going to click on my first image here. All right, and we can see that a donut appears. Okay, this is your content grabber. So think of this as selecting the picture but not the frame. If I click on this and move it around, we can see on my screen that like an orange or a brown line appears. This is actually showing me the size of my image. Okay, but I can move it around and this allows me to just move the content of my image. Right, so we can see the different parts of my image appearing here. Okay, in order to work with this image in particular, okay, to change the size, first of all, I've clicked on the image once and you can see I get this blue border around the edge, okay, with my squares. I'm going to pull this down because I want this image to be longer on the left hand side. As I pull my box down, you can see a green line is appearing right at the bottom here. That is telling me that that image or the bottom of that box is in line with the bottom of all the other boxes. So I'm going to let go and you can see it automatically fills that box with my image. Okay, but now I'm happy with my frame. I'm not happy with my image itself. So in order to start working on the image, I need to double click. All right, and you can see, as I said before, this brown line has appeared. All right, and this allows me to work on the image itself. All right. Oh, sorry guys. All right, so what I can do is I'm in this image, I can click and drag it across, or what I could do is I'm going to Command minus and make my page smaller, and you can see that I've got this box up here. When we resize an image, it's exactly like we do it in Word, okay, or PowerPoint, or Photoshop. What we do, okay, we click in a corner and you hold Shift, and this moves the image proportionally. Okay, so I can see here that my image is slowly coming down to the size that I want it to be. So the reason my image has disappeared from this box is because I have moved my frame, I've moved my image from my frame. So I'm just going to click and drag it down. Okay, and we can see that it's not quite big enough, so I've dragged it out to make it a bit bigger. And let's zoom in and see how we feel about this now. You can also use your arrow key to resize the image or move its placement. When I'm done resizing this image, I just click in the grey, okay? And it takes away that brown rectangle around it. All right, so once I'm happy with my first image, okay, I move to my second image. All right, so that's going to be this nut and bolt up here. So again, I'm going to double click and you can see that I have got the brown rectangle and that gives me the whole size of the image. I'm going to click and drag down. Now the blue box around the outside acts again as the frame. All right, so I might want to make it smaller, I might want to make it a bit bigger, but I'm happy with it like that. So I'm going to click outside. You can see all of the grabbing options disappear, so it means that image is done. Okay, what I'm going to do now, this image here isn't quite showing enough detail of what I want it to show. This is an idea for the floor. So I'm going to click on this one and I'm going to resize it again. Remember, always grabbing from a corner, always holding Shift. Okay, this allows us to keep the image in proportion so it doesn't look out of scale when to the rest of the images. Okay, and then I'm just using my arrow keys to bring it up so it kind of fills the box as much as possible. All right, so next I'm going to go with this picture of the of a person, okay, in a shop looking all cozy. Again, I'm resizing it, bringing it down as far as I can to the size that I want it to be. And we don't always have to show the whole image. Part of the image is enough to convey the feeling that we want them to, the feeling that we want it to. All right, then up here, I'm going to double click again, and this is my clothes rack. So an idea for a display within the store. Right, bringing this down. And just using those really basic resizing options. This one I'm going to make a bit smaller because I want to see the whole image all together. Now to make my frame match my image size, I'm going to double click on this side, on this selection tool, and it makes it the same size as the image. Okay, so next I'm going to start working on this tool, this image, sorry. Okay, and this guy is looking a bit big in this picture. All right, I want him to look smaller, so I'm going to double click and I'm going to bring him down quite a lot. All right, and actually I want this image to be more rectangular than square. So now that my image is the right size, I'm going to click again, double click, sorry, and then it will bring me back to my framing options. And I'm just going to drag that in. And we can see that it doesn't affect the image, just what we can see of the image. So I'm really happy with that size and shape. But now, of course, it's out over here in the middle of nowhere. I want it to be more in line with this image here. So I'm going to click and drag, making sure I'm in the blue. You always have to be in the blue selection frame when you're moving an image. Drag it across and slide it towards this image here. Trying to make sure that I line it up as well as I can. And we can see that the lines across the page are appearing in green. That's telling me that everything is in line. I can just see here that my edges on these ones haven't quite appeared correctly. Now when I'm moving this image across, you guys will see these green arrows appear at the bottom of my screen. That's telling me that the gap on either side of the middle image is even if I place this image right there. That's exactly what I want. So I'm going to let it go, and we can see that it's placed right there. Right, I'm just making this one a little bit bigger so it fills the frame a little more. All right, so I'm starting to get an idea of what my board is going to look like. All right, I've got this one more image to go. We can see that it's a bit small for its frame, which probably means if it's really, really small, you might need to find a better quality image. But this one will be all right. So what I'm going to do, double click again to get the size of my image, and I'm just going to drag it up, all right, to fill the space that I've got available. Right. So this board is giving me quite a comprehensive idea, feeling of what I want my retail space to look like. Okay, so that is a really easy way to create a board in InDesign. Now, I want to know what it looks like without all of these guidelines on it, okay, telling me what it is and what it should look like. What I'm going to do is if you hit W on your keyboard, it gives you a view or a preview of what your board is going to look like when it's saved as a PDF. So I'm going to hit W, and you can see all of those lines disappear. Now it's looking okay, but I think I need to change the placement of this text up here and maybe add a bit of color, okay, or just like a bit of a background. So I'm going to hit W again, and all my guidelines come back. So I want to move this text box, so I'm going to click and I'm going to drag down, probably a bit more in the middle. I'm going to hit W again to see what it looks like. Yep, I think that placement is much better. Now what I'm going to do is I want to add a fill to this rectangle. All right, so I'm going to come up to here, fill, all right, and I'm going to choose black for the time being, which is far too dark. But then I can come over here to my colors, all right, my color panel, and then I get different options. And we can see here that it's slowly becoming this lovely light gray color. All right, I may even want to make it a little bit bigger and just change the placement of my text. All right. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to move it back down. Sorry, guys. Once I'm happy with that, okay, I can see that I'm on black, but I've put it on 20%. I'm going to do the same to this box down here. So click on this text box, and I'm going to say black, and I'm going to type in here 20%, and it will automatically change that to black. This lighter grey to match the top. So we can see that this starts to ground your board a little bit more. Okay, so if I hit W again, right, we can see that the board is nicely framed. Okay, and everything is starting to come together. Now I can play around with this more. I could move different images around as I've shown you, but at the moment I'm happy with this. So I have created my board. In the next video I'm going to talk about how to save your board.